Hello, everyone. Welcome to another 10 to 20 with Tanya. I'm Tanya, and today we're going to talk about why your English isn't improving. Why isn't it getting better? Or what you can do to overcome being stuck. I had Espy right here next to me, hoping that this would not happen. But obviously, it is happening. So, Espy, come here. Come here. So, I might want to look at why Espy's barking isn't getting better. Actually, I know why it is, and we're working on it. So, that's the key, really, is knowing what the problem is so that you can work on it. And some things just are the way they are. However, you can continue to improve your English for the rest of your life if that's what you want to do. I know I am continuing to improve my English. So today I want to share with you, and in case you're wondering, yes, I am a native speaker. And even though I grew up speaking English, doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes and that I can't improve. I do improve all of the time. So I want to share with you how you can understand if you're improving and why you think your English is not getting better. So let me know where you're from, where you're listening from. If this is your first time here for a 10 to 20 with Tanya live, let me know. And how do you feel about your English? Is it going really well? Do you feel like you're stuck? Like you're not getting better? Sometimes you feel like that. You feel like that a lot or a little. Let me know in the comments. Hey, Sophia, good to see you. Hi, Rafa. We've got some of our usuals here. Oksana, good to see you. Oksana, am I saying your name correctly? Let me know here because I say it like that, I think, each time that I see it. So we have people from Poland, Russia, Portugal, Venezuela, all over the world. I am joining you from the United States. I currently live in Southern California. So the first thing I want to say to you is that I'm watching the comments, in case you're wondering, is that if you think your English is not getting better, you probably are improving. If this is how we know if we're improving, there are some different ways to know whether or not you're improving. But one of the ways, my favorite way to know whether or not you're improving is if you are studying and practicing your English, studying 25% of the time, practicing 75% of the time, approximately, and you're doing this regularly, which could be every day, but it doesn't have to be every day. Maybe it's 4 or 5 times a week. Maybe it's 6 times a week. Maybe it's every day. And it doesn't have to be always the same. I have other videos about that if you'd like to go check out some of my other videos. If you are doing that regularly, you're improving. There's my SV. Hi, S. Say hi. Say hi. If you want to know if you're improving as well as you can, one way to know that is when you feel stuck or frustrated or you find something that's difficult for you, maybe it's phrasal verbs, maybe it's pronunciation, whatever it is, if you work on that, learn about it, get feedback from it. Maybe you find a teacher to help you with it. Maybe you find a language exchange to help you with it. Maybe you find videos to help you with it. If you tackle that, and what I mean by tackling it is if you find the difficulty and you go towards it and try to solve that problem, that is an excellent thing. So if you're doing those things I said before, practicing and studying regularly and tackling your difficulties, you are improving and you are improving well. Now, some people don't like that way of understanding whether or not you're improving because they want hard, cold facts, meaning they want to see the improvement. If that's the kind of person you are, there are tests that you can take. I don't think the tests are a great way to see if you're improving. I think it's a way to see how your test taking skills are. You might see some of the things you're improving on, but if you like to see test results, then there are lots of tests out there that you can find. They aren't as effective as what I just mentioned to you, but they can be helpful. Another thing that I do personally, but sometimes it's less helpful than helpful, but it can be very helpful. It just depends on you and how you are, but is to compare yourself to yourself. So let me talk a little bit about that. A lot of the time we feel like we are stuck. We feel like our English is not getting better because we're comparing ourselves to someone else, to another student, to someone who's a native speaker, not a good idea, or to someone who's been speaking the language a lot longer than us. And this is not helpful. This usually makes us feel less than. When we compare ourselves to ourselves, it is a better way at looking and seeing, okay, last year I was really having a hard time with whatever was hard for you, phrasal verbs, pronunciation, whatever it was. This year I've learned a lot. Then we can see how we have improved. One of the ways that I do this, pardon me, is to record myself speaking in my second language. And then after a year, 6 months at the minimum, but usually I wait a year, I go back and listen to that to see how it sounds compared to a recording that I've made in the last few days. That helps me to see how I'm improving, but I gotta be honest with you, sometimes it doesn't feel helpful to me, and so I don't do it when it's not feeling helpful. It really depends on many things. How critical you are of yourself, how life in general is going, how well you can listen to the recordings and hear the difference. Like, are you very good at noticing the things you've improved, or maybe you're not? Having someone else listen could be, I'm not saying it would be, but it could be something helpful. All right, let me see if there are any questions here. I see people from Turkey, Brazil, Ukraine, everywhere. This is awesome. Okay, let's see. London, Guatemala, Oksana, thank you for letting me know I have been saying your name correctly. I might say it wrong, but I mean in the future, but hopefully I will keep saying it correctly. Let me see. Let me see. Any questions? Okay. Paula says, I've been B2 the last 3 years and I haven't been able to become C1. Paula, I'm curious if you're taking a test to know that, or how do you know that you're B2 instead of C1? But she also says, it seems in spite I learn new words. I don't know how to introduce the vocabulary when I talk and write in English. I know this is a very simple answer to that, but really, you need to talk and speak more. I know from personal experience, it's so much easier to read and listen because there's a ton of reading and listening information available to us. It's harder to find someone that you can speak with. You're listening right now, as an example. And writing is, not all of us love to write. I love to write, but in my second language, it's very difficult for me. Although I was just talking about it today in the bonus class for our Women Speak Better program and telling them that since I've started writing with ChatGPT, my writing in Spanish has improved. And the biggest improvement is that I'm doing it a lot more. Now, the other thing I said to them is the best way to practice your writing and improve your English is to write by hand. And of course, when I'm on ChatGPT, I'm typing on the computer. But typing on the computer is better than not writing at all. So I have to be very disciplined so that I continue to write in Spanish. And I will be honest with you, it is my weak point. It isn't the thing that I do the best. However, I keep improving it and I don't test it. And the reason I don't test it is because for me, 80% of the time when I've taken a test, I don't feel better. I either feel, so let me explain that. As a student, I was very good at taking tests. I got very good grades. I thought I was a great student because I could take tests very well. What I learned is that most of that I was tested on, I didn't learn. I don't know it. I can't tell you the date of that historical event. I for sure cannot do the mathematics, calculus, trigonometry, all of that stuff that I learned and got excellent grades. Can't do it. Um, Engineering skills that I learned in college, great grades. Can't do it. What I learned is that I wasn't learning. I learned that I knew how to take a test. Now, some people learn very well by taking tests. And if that's you, keep doing that. If that's not you and it's not encouraging, and see, I was very good at taking tests, but I wasn't learning. So I have learned to learn. And I have also learned how to keep track of my learning that encourages me to continue learning. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know what you're thinking. Let me know in the comments here. So, Paula, to help you a little bit more, because I'm sure there are a lot of people here who feel that way. In the language learning world, we go like this. We go A1, A1, A2, B1, B2, and see how I'm still going up a little? It it takes everyone a lot longer to get from B2 to C1. And the way that they test that isn't necessarily showing you how well you can use the language. So, Paula, what is your main reason for using the language? Is it to talk with people at work or to get a better job so that you can travel? Maybe you want to talk to someone in your family who speaks English. I hear people say they want to talk to their grandchildren or their child's fiance or lots of different reasons. Why are you learning English, Paula? If you feel like you could let me know, I will see if I can help you with that. I can't read that. Inter Napoli. Hi, I'm from I don't know. And you, I'm from the United States. I listen to podcasts a lot, but I find it boring to study and repeat new words. I'm with you. Who said that? Molovala. I'm with you on that. I don't study words like that. I do learn words from a list. The list I use has pictures, images. I think this is the best way if you're going to use a list. But then I take those words and I use them in different ways. And back to ChatGPT, one of the things I've been really loving with ChatGPT lately is I take those words and I put them into ChatGPT and I ask ChatGPT to give me sample sentences and I practice those sample sentences, or I ask it to write a story. Now I have those words in context and I practice reading that sentence out loud. And if I'm not sure of how to pronounce a word, I find it in my dictionary, which gives me Spanish word pronunciation because Spanish is my second language. I ask my language exchange. I ask my teacher. And I keep practicing and I review. I review and I review. And I look for those words in things I'm learning. Pardon me, reading, but also I listen for them. All right, let's see what else we have here. Academic reasons. Paula says she's learning for academic reasons. Okay, so what I would suggest is how do you feel using your English for academic reasons? Are you able to communicate? Are you able to write what you need to write? Are you able to understand when you're listening? If not, then I would practice those things. I'm wondering, do you need to have a C1 level in order to get into a certain academic school that you want? Let me know in the comments. Jeff has a question. Don't you think some of us are just a little too anxious to improve? This is such a good question, Jeff. I want to read it again because this is an excellent question. He says, "Don't you think some of us are just a little too anxious to improve?" My short answer is I think anyone can improve. My longer answer is if you are anxious about it, it is going to be a lot more difficult. And for that reason, then you need to work on the anxiety. What is making you anxious? Does it have something to do with learning English? Or is it something that seems unrelated? For instance, are you anxious about something that's happening in your life? I just did a bonus class. I'm looking for the thing I did, and I don't see it here. I just did the bonus class with the Women Speak Better program, and I made my own tool that I was teaching them. And I saw that, as many of you know, I have had two friends die recently. It's been very, very difficult for me. And I saw that on this tool that I was using, that I was having some anxiety, some grief, some depression, some sadness, which that's what happens when we're when we're grieving. Um, and I saw how my life was getting unbalanced. Now, is this going to help me for learning my second language? Absolutely, because now I can see on the paper what is happening. And now I have a way to look at it and how can I improve that? Um, this is something we work on in our individual lessons and in our Women Speak Better program. There are many other ways to work on this. There are people who will can professionally help you with anxiety or any of those kinds of things that you might be experiencing. And yes, Jeff, I do think it makes learning anything a lot more difficult. So we do have to kind of look at our whole life, what's happening, and what we are expecting of ourselves. Are we expecting too much or not enough? There's so much to this. I hope I answered your question, Jeff. Let me know. Okay, I just saw a heart. I don't see hearts here very often, and I love them. So if you can click those hearts, I love them. I'd love to see another one. Okay, the best compliment I've received recently was your vocabulary you speak with is C1. That's a fabulous um, compliment. That reminds me that sometimes we can be C1 in one level and B2 in another level or in another aspect. So you might be, for instance, your vocabulary might be C1, but your pronunciation is B2. So try to remember that what those scales are created for, and try not to beat yourself up with it. What I mean is, try not to make yourself feel bad about it. Okay, see. Da-da-da-da. Hello, everyone. Hello. And it's okay. It's really embarrassing me when, after a lot of grammar study, I've had grammar mistakes. Then, when I see some impolite reaction, I stop to talk in society. I am very sad to hear that. I'm so sorry. When people are rude or demeaning, or what was the word you made? Impolite. Um, it's very sad to me. You are working hard. It's very difficult to ignore those people. Try not to let them get to you. Even people who are not being rude can be difficult. I have a language exchange. She's never rude to me, but sometimes I feel embarrassed. Sometimes I feel defeated, like, "Ugh, I'm never going to get better." It's not because of her. It's because sometimes my self esteem is down and sometimes it's up. So when it's down, it's good to kind of learn why and maybe take it easy on yourself. Um, but please don't stop speaking. Keep speaking. Find other people who are polite. And you said you stopped speaking in society. Society can be really mean. Try to surround yourself with kind and caring people. All right. Jeff says, I'm looking forward to Men's Better Speaking program. Thank you, Jeff. I'm hoping to do a program that's for everyone. I'm working on this program. It's taking a lot more work than I thought it would be and a lot longer than I thought it would. But yes, I'm looking forward to that too. Malo says, thanks, dear teacher. During my walking time, I listen to your real stories. Oh, thank you. And don't notice passing time. Oh, that's awesome. Keep doing that. Keep doing the things that make you feel good. Find other YouTube videos to watch that have other accents and encourage you. Find podcasts, things that encourage you. Uh, Good. I'm glad I answered your question, Jeff. Paula says, I mean, I'm expecting to get into a university which requires a C1 level. Yes, that's challenging when you need a level in order to study or immigrate. That is very, very challenging. And my best feedback for you, if you have to take a certain test, is to find a teacher who teaches to that test. What that means is they teach you how to take that particular test. If it's the TOEFL or the IELTS or whatever the test is, there's a lot of different ones out there. Find a teacher who teaches to that test. They will know what specific things you need to know. They'll also know how to help you with strategy for taking the test, and those things are really important. Okay, let's see. Do I speak Arabic? No, I don't, Ahmed. Arabic has some similarities to Spanish. I don't speak Arabic, but I know they have some similarities. Welcome. Mohammed says, there is a man, an American expert of language acquisition. He said input is more important than output. Don't you believe that? There's a lot of discussion on input and output. Pardon me. Oh. I think we need a lot of input, listening, reading. We're inputting. The problem is that if you want to speak, you need to speak. So, yes, I agree. It's very important to have a lot of input. I have increased my input a lot in the last 3 years versus the years before that, because I think that it can be very, very helpful. And I have seen students who have mostly input increase their speaking skills. Um, and they are also speaking. So they're doing both. I'm not a scientist. I've never done a study on this. Just in my experience with students and myself, I think it's really important to have all of those things and that it is challenging to find ways to speak and to practice our speaking, especially ways that are natural. So I don't know if that's helpful to anyone, but I hope it is. Let's see. Could a person learn two or more languages at the same time? There are people who do that. I'm not one of those people. I am very slowly learning a little bit of German and a little bit of Korean, but as when I was putting more time and energy into that, my Spanish was not getting the time it needed. So for me, I dabble, I say, in those languages. I'll write that word here. Dabble, meaning it's like a hobby or less than even a hobby, like just something I do because I'm interested in those languages and I really want to learn more about them. and many other languages. So I do that for fun. I also have fun when I'm learning Spanish, but I have more of a commitment and a program and a goals and things that I follow for learning Spanish. Okay. Are there any other questions about this? I want to check my notes and see. I talked about how to know if you are improving. If you feel stuck, if you feel like I'm stuck, I can't get any better, or I'm stuck, I don't know what to do. The way that I suggest getting past that, there are many things you can do. I have in the past taught whole workshops on that, but the way that I would start is to find something interesting in English. If it's a movie, a book, an article, a game, a person to talk to, whatever it is, something that's interesting for you to do, and do that until you start to feel unstuck. It can feel like, oh, this isn't getting better. If you're doing it for weeks and weeks and weeks and it's not getting better, then you do need to look at some other things. But usually, if you do that for a few days, a week, 10 days, then you will start to get curious enough about something there that you'll want to look at vocabulary or pronunciation or what those other things are, and you will start to get back into your routine. Again, if you don't get back into your routine in a week or two, then there might be other things that you need to look at. It could be like Jeff suggested, it could be anxiety, it could be something about something completely different. If you've had something very difficult happen in your life, like I have in the last month, that's going to affect your language learning. It's going to affect all areas of your life. So find out how you can work on those things and be gentle with yourself. I think, let's see, could a person learn language for fun? Absolutely. I think learning language for fun is a great idea. I think, yes, you can. Next person says, I think persons just do it with like Duolingo, and I think you might be talking to someone else. I'm not sure if I understand what you're saying there. Nay, no. If it's a question, let me know. Gulistan Buell. Thanks, teacher, too much. I understand well when you're talking, but another teacher that I can't understand well that, yes, if it's good that you're listening to someone you can't understand well, as long as it's not too difficult or too frustrating. Um, I suggest listening to different people. I have two main teachers that I follow on YouTube, and I listen to them regularly. And then in addition to that, I add in all kinds of other types of listening, stuff made for native speakers, stuff made from teachers that I don't follow, listening to audiobooks, listening to apps that are on my phone, all kinds of different things. It helps me. Big Bang Theory, Sheldon Cooper. I missed what that was about, but I love the Big Bang Theory. Jeff says language students will plateau at some point. What he means is you're learning quickly, and then you come to a plateau. It doesn't, I agree. One of the things we try to do is get past the plateau. And part of getting past the plateau is accepting that when your learning was like this, doesn't mean that when your learning is like this is not learning. As you can see, there's still a slight inclination upward. And so part of getting past the plateau is to recognize that you're still learning. It's just not as big of a difference. When you start from zero, there's a big difference from 0 to B1. That's a big difference. But from B2 to C1, there's a lot to learn at that level, is maybe the best way to explain it. Orkan, can you give me some tips about how to immerse myself in English? I really try to do everything in English. Sometimes I feel crazy. If you're starting to feel crazy, I would suggest maybe finding some things that you understand more. So don't push yourself so hard. In other words, now I don't know your goal, so maybe you need to push yourself. I don't know. But if possible, immerse yourself in whatever ways you can by listening to music, listening to podcasts. I listen to podcasts while I'm doing the dishes, speaking the language whenever you can. Write as many things as you can in English. Write your grocery list and your notes. And every time you see yourself writing anything, try to write it in English. And if you're starting to feel crazy, I know that's just sort of a way to describe this feeling of overwhelm or frustration or whatever it is. Find either back off a little or back off a little and find things that make you feel empowered. For instance, read a book in English that you understand everything, even if it's a children's book. Go back to a tool you used to use that you don't use anymore because you understand everything. So, for example, I have a podcast that I listen to. I understand it 99%. I keep listening because it's interesting and it helps me to realize how much I learned because there was a time when I did not understand that podcast at all. So if I'm feeling frustrated or overwhelmed, I'll go back and listen to that podcast. Um, Hopefully you heard at least one thing here today that was helpful. I see another question. Can you, hey, Sophia, Tanya, could you please suggest an audio reading book? Thank you. Yes, I'm not sure what level you're looking for, but I think if you are an intermediate or even an advanced student, this book is a good book. We did this in the book club, in the Women Speak Better book club. The Number One Ladies Detective Agency. It's written by Alexander McCall Smith. His writing is relatively easy to understand. His books are interesting. Lots of people love these books. They're not my favorite books of all time, but I really enjoy reading them. And every time I use one of these books with students, they like it a lot. So this is the first book in a long series. He also has a lot of other books, most of which I haven't read, but the ones I have read, I've enjoyed. And you can get them on audiobook and listen to them. If this is what we call cozy mystery. I'm going to write that it's a mystery that isn't too scary or bloody or violent or anything. It's a cozy mystery. I prefer this type of cozy mystery that has humans as characters over the ones that have animals as characters, but I know a lot of people like the animals as character series, and I just read one and I can't remember the name of it, but if you type me a question in the comments, I'll try to find out that for you. I don't have it here because it's in the car, just finished a book. Don't know if you can find it on audio. It is a level down from this. You could do this if you're B2 or C1. If you're B1, you're going to want to maybe have a book like this one. It was called The Ballad of Lucy Whipple. I think it was Whipple. Whipple. I really enjoyed the book. I read it in English. It's, way below my English level. The reason I read it in English is I needed to read something that I didn't have to think. I have a lot going on. Like I said, I've been grieving and I just needed something gentle in my life. And I'm so glad I read that. And I recommend it. It's historical fiction. It's about the California gold rush. It's about a young girl who I think the book starts, she's 12, and I think she's 15 or 16 when the book ends. Any other suggestions that anyone else has, please put them in the comments, especially on the recorded version so that we can all see them there. Orkan says, is it possible to learn English only by listening? It's possible to learn a lot of English, pardon me, only by listening, but I doubt you could speak very well. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I haven't tested it, but I think you could learn a lot. All right. I like what Batista Silva says, if I said that correctly. A cartoon book could be a good idea. In fact, I've got we call them graphic novels. I'll write it here. A graphic novel that I'm going to start reading in Spanish that Tiana recommended to me. So, all right. I hope that something was helpful today in our chat. I look forward to chatting with you more next week at this same time, and I will see you then. Be sure to go and put your questions in the comments and talk to you later. Bye.